somebody that's dedicated enough to watch my content for that long definitely deserves a moment of glory to themselves. The genuine Warsteiner boot. Let's do it.
Yes, you chug that water.
We are going to be doing a Brimthen Babbles podcast. I got a small announcement to do real quick here on the early bit. I haven't been able to do Brimthen Babbles podcasts for a little while now because I had a couple family emergencies that came up. I had an art scam, and it's taken us a really long time to get back to the kind of art quality that I've been wanting to get, and we're still working on it. But today we have someone very special. My good friend Nance. He is a long-term friend that has been in my life since high school. We have played a whole bunch of different hobby games back when we were in school, talked a whole bunch. I ended up moving away from Tennessee up to Kentucky and leaving a lot of my friends behind. And we kind of lost contact for a little while, and it took a little while to get kind of rekindling our friendship and getting back together. And since getting back together, we have been absolutely killing it as friends. We've started up a whole bunch of different streams, like doing Warhammer content. We're going to be building Warhammer armies together. He taught me how to do Total War Warhammer, and honestly, I am extremely proud to call you my friend, and I welcome you to the podcast, Mr. Nance.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here. This should be fun. But,
yeah, I've been wanting to do a podcast with you for a little bit now, and I figured this would be a good podcast to start off with, coming back, because it lets me kind of warm back up into my host chair here, and I feel really good to be back.
Oh, yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, what kind of hobbies you're into, and let everybody know who you are.
Oh, well, I'm Nance. I've been really into the Warhammer, as Rim has stated. Been playing lots of games. And also I've been getting into a lot of board games as well. Dice Thrones has been a big one lately.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm looking at Zombie Side at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And I just recently taught you how to play Dice Masters.
You did, and that was actually really fun. And Binding of Isaac, that was awesome.
Oh yeah, the Binding of Isaac.
I honestly want to play more of that. That was actually really fun.
Yeah, I've always liked little hobby games that you have to like battle bosses and stuff. I also have another one that's similar to that. It's called 5 Minute Dungeon, and I plan on showing you that at some point. And eventually, hopefully, we'll make like a little series where we play every one of the different like board games and stuff that we got.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, you're introducing me to so many new board games that I was like, it's been so long since I've enjoyed board games.
Yeah, being my friend for any extended amount of time, you'll end up experiencing different kinds of games that you never thought you'd play or even get really see.
Right? Yeah, I was like, this exists? This is a thing? That's what it was with Dice Thrones. So I was like, this is a thing? This is cool.
Right. And just as a little reminder here, TMA, I don't usually mess with chat too much. And it's more about Nance. So no, not necessarily. If you redeem hydrate, Nance doesn't have to drink as well. That'd be terrible, I mean,
if he wants me to, I will.
But no, so we've been playing a lot of Warhammer stuff. I know just recently we did a stream with the Shadow of the Horned Rat for PlayStation 1, and sitting there watching you like read the text at the start of the game, you were just so enamored by it. It was amazing. I could really tell you were getting into like finding out what all it was there. And Xanadude bringing us a party of 10. What up, everybody? Not to take away from Nance for just a second here, but that's a huge raid. I greatly appreciate that, you guys. For the 10 people that just joined, like I was telling TMA for just a second, these Babbles podcasts, I like to kind of focus on the person that's here. Sorry if I seem like I'm ignoring chat just a little bit. I just want to, I focus on my guest primarily. We have a whole bunch of channel points. You can mess with my lighting and stuff in the background as well. I'm going to get back to focusing on the podcast here. But I really appreciate it, Xanadude. I really, really, really do. Anyway, back to here real quick. So again, we were playing Shadow of the Horned Rat, and you were just enamored by these cutscenes and stuff. And, you know, what was your thoughts on the game?
Honestly, I was like, this was a thing back in 1925. That was my first thought. I'm like, man, I don't know how I missed this one back in the day. So I would have really would have played it if I knew that was the thing, but I had no idea that was a game that was made all the way back then. Yeah, I didn't think that they had the tools for it.
Yeah, and just listening to like the Skaven voices and stuff, because that opening cutscene, it starts off with like, warpstone, yes, I loved listening to like the engineers that was like, drive, you shut up. Like, it was great. Yeah. Those voices was killing me.
Yeah, those had me laughing pretty good. But also, speaking of channel points, when you were saying for them to do channel points, I like the save button, and I'm going to use a bunch of mine right now.
Oh God! Oh God!
To chug the blue.
Oh God! You would pick the podcast to do this.
I would.
All right. Well, let me get situated over here, and we will get a boot set up. I definitely was not ready for a boot shot. That's a lot of channel points, and I know you've been around quite a long time here, and I have no doubt you've been saving those up.
Yep. For the right moment, Skaven schemes. Been waiting and scheming.
So we got a raid going on right now. Now it's probably a good time. I have a Warsteiner boot here, and he has redeemed the 10,000 channel point hydrate water boot chug, and I will be chugging a boot worth of water as soon as it gets filled up. Give me just a moment to get it filled up. And while it fills, we'll continue the podcast, because why stop the podcast, right? So you've been, okay, and we'll transition this into the channel points. So you've been watching my content for a while now, and you've kept track of stuff. What have you been enjoying the most out of it so far to get up to these 10,000 points?
Oh man, I mean, the Minecraft streams have been pretty interesting. Watching you play Dark Souls, I never was a Dark Souls fan. I mean, you made it pretty interesting. I've honestly considered buying the game and trying it out again for myself. I had a horrible time on Dark Souls 2 when I tried it. I think like the second boss put me out, and I was just like, "Yep, I'm done. I can't do it."
I would absolutely love to watch you play that in casual streaming if you were able to set it up on casual streaming and let people watch you play Dark Souls that way. What up, Foxtrot?
Yeah, I mean, I might. We'll see.
I think my this is a funny one. My giant water bottle needs recharging.
Oh.
There we go. We're almost done with it. But yeah, welcome everybody on Xanadude's raid, and I appreciate the raid there, Xanadude. We aren't usually as kind of rough on the podcast here, but it's the first one since I've been back, so I still got a little bit of jitters. And Mr. Nance has decided to do the boot on us, so we'll take just a moment here off of the podcast to do a channel point that he redeemed, which I think is a special condition that I should allow. All right. This Hydrate Water Chug was brought to you by Mr. Nance, who is also here on the podcast, and they can still hear you even though I just swapped. Let me take my glasses off. Let me take my headphones off for just a moment here. And 10,000 channel points. Somebody that's dedicated enough to watch my content for that long definitely deserves a moment of glory to themselves. A genuine Warsteiner boot. Let's do it.
Yes, you chug that water.
And that is the Hydrate Water Chug. I've only done 2 so far. The first one was brought to you by Xanfer, and today's was brought to you by Nance. Oh, Lord. Get me a napkin real quick here.
That was a nice chug.
Man, the last one was at a bad time, too, because it was during that big moment where we were all going down to fight the main dungeon in our Minecraft SMP. Like, we were all there at the dungeon. We was literally opening up the boss's room, and that's when Xanfer was like, well, I think it's a good time to do this. So I had to cut, like, partway through the biggest moment on the SMP server just to chug a boot.
Sounds like Xan would do something like that.
All right, back to the podcast. I gotta admit, like, I really do appreciate your loyalty on my streams and stuff. You've been a great fan of both the content and a great friend of mine, and I'm always happy to have you around. And yeah. I'm just glad you're here.
Well, thank you, man. Anytime, man. I mean, the content's been entertaining. It's been good. I mean, especially those Dark Souls streams, man. Something I'm not even into, but I like watching it.
It's a different kind of game, you know. Mr. Dumpling just recently beat it, and that was a really fun experience to watch him, because like he was getting a little discouraged there for just a moment, and then like he had that big triumphant moment that everybody wants in Dark Souls of finishing the game, and that was so much fun for me to watch by him just on that. So.
Right, and it felt so, like, even for me, I felt it like he killed that final boss. Oh, that was just such a great feeling to sit there and watch.
Yeah, especially when he was like powering through those last few hits and just bonking down on him like that. You could feel he was wanting it every swing and was just like, I gotta get that next swing in, come on.
Yes.
That was awesome.
It
but
was.
Yeah, and you're a really good community member on a lot of our streamers that we have on our Discord. Because you've stuck around on Focal Assassin and Dumpling, and I think a few others.
Yeah, and quite a few. I've also did some of y'all you guys' streams, which has been really fun to play with y'all and stuff.
Dumpling gets in here just at the last moment, like right after I just got done chugging the boot.
Man.
He missed the boot. But anyway, so yeah, we have a very long history, and you're one of the few people that's in my life that remembers me from back in the high school days. And we won't talk about some of the stuff, but
Nope, definitely not.
Because, teenagers do what teenagers do, and there's a lot of non-podcast friendly things that I used to do back in the day. But you're one of the few people that can actually contest to, I was a very hardcore goth back in high school.
Yeah, you definitely were. Wore the trip pants and everything, every day.
Hair,
School.
hair down to my shoulders, chains, band t-shirts, trip pants, and I had the goth mentality too. I hated posers, and I had a lot of opinions.
Right. You really did, man. And to catch you at the breakfast table every day playing Magic with
Oh,
a
yeah.
couple of our buddies from school.
Yeah, we had a good little close-knit circle going, you know. For the longest time, I called us the Nine. And we would go and we'd play Magic at breakfast table, and we would constantly piss off the coach, you know. Coach would, can't remember his name, but it was the coach that would always watch breakfast, and he would just like loom over our table constantly.
Right. We sent her over. What y'all doing over here?
But they wanted to get rid of us playing Magic and stuff, but like there was so many of us that was playing Magic, they couldn't confiscate everybody's, so they they just allowed it after a while.
Right.
I always thought that was funny.
Yeah, just do it enough. They're like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, that was an interesting high school. You know, it was like what, like 3,000-4,000 students or something like that, like 1,000 per grade or something. We had 4 lunch times.
Yeah, I mean it was a pretty big school.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But yeah, the Magic, man, like that was so much fun. I would literally be excited every day to get off the bus and just play Magic.
I had no idea what was going on. I just was interested in watching. Like I didn't even know Magic. I mean, well, honestly, I still did play for the most part even now. Because when we did the Magic stream, that was like one of the 3rd or 4th times I played Magic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when I was sitting there watching y'all at the hospital, they were like, I have no idea what's going on, but I'm still watching.
I'm interested. And to beat all, we threw you into a Magic the Gathering draft. Just like
Johnson boats.
Yeah, I loved that stuff back then. I played very competitively. I was constantly wanting to win, and that mentality has changed completely since then. Because now I don't care if I win, I just want to have fun.
Right. I've gotten that mentality. I used to be very, very competitive, and now I'm just like, I just want competitive just ruins most things for me anymore.
Yeah. And I tie it a little bit of like the League of Legends. Like League of Legends is what started it for the most part, and then like League of Legends, CS:GO, Siege, eventually Overwatch, like the kind of games that I like to call the salt games, where it's just all salt.
Yep. When I first got into League, because you remember that, because you was the one that taught me and Zan how to play.
Yep.
Most part, like build and stuff like that. And I remember we go into 3v3s and getting getting beat pretty bad, and you're like, we're fine, we got it,
we're fine. We could turn this around. I've always been optimistic. I would get salty at League and stuff like that, but I eventually wore out of it, and like I just was always more optimistic on like what was going on, because I always felt like there was always that chance that like, okay, so yeah, we're struggling right now, but there's that chance that I just like get in there and like win it.
Right. I remember that too when you was like you were playing Castle. I remember that, and you were like, all right, y'all engage him. I'm going to flank him from the jungle with the Caston's ult. You teleport on top of him and stuff, and we would try so hard. But I remember we lost quite a few. I mean, we won some, but I mean we fought till the end. That's on those.
And I tie it a little bit to my Asperger's, because I get like hyper focused on something, and like I look towards that win, and I'm like, we can get there no matter the cost. If we have to sacrifice everything. So what if we're 0-30? It doesn't matter. We can still win.
Right. I mean, that's the good mentality to have. I mean, sometimes in League, though, I mean, when the other team gets fed, you're like, well,
there's not much you can do.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's not much you can do, but I mean, it's still good to put up a fight, because you never know. I mean, you might be, because if your characters scale well late game, you might, and you hold it to that point, I mean, you still can come back. But definitely not 3v3s, though, because it's such a short game. But we tried.
Yeah. That mentality, though, really helped me in CSGO because, like, you've got the first half of the match, which, you know, your eco round really matters. If in the first 3 rounds, you can really tell how your first half is going to go. But, like, it can all be turned around in the second half. Like, having that optimistic personality of, like, you know, we can still win this really changes CSGO, like, strats entirely. Because, so what if you lost the first half? Like, go, you know, destroy in the second half.
Right. I mean, there's always openings for you to win the game, even if you're down by. I mean, that's like any competitive game, sports, or anything. If you're down by luck, there's still a chance you can come back if they start slipping.
Yep, that's right. But yeah, no, I'm glad though I'm kind of out of that kind of mentality though, because like I grew away from competitive games at the end of the day, and I like a lot more like cooperative games, and you teaching me Total War sparked something that I genuinely haven't gotten to experience in a long time. And because like Warhammer is such a big topic between the two of us that it's hard to do it justice in even just one podcast. But you know, for me, my Warhammer experience started, you know, back in 1997, 1998, whenever I picked up, you know, Shadow of the Horned Rat for the first time. And I didn't know about the Warhammer universe at that time. It was something that I had to later get into, but I had heard bits and pieces of it from various people throughout, you know, becoming an adult, being a teenager, all that kind of stuff. And it was something that was always on my list of things to get more into and research more into. And it wasn't until I started like working for the railroad and meeting a certain person that I got to hear more about lore. And when I started hearing about lore, it made me want to sit down and, you know, start looking into it. And then me and Zalost, we sat down and started looking into 40K, making 40K armies. And then I spent the next 3 years after that building 40K armies and just like diving deep into the 40K lore. I mean, you saw the big thick book at my house. Like I love AdMech. The amount of lore I know about 40K is insane. But I never got to touch like Age of Sigmar much, but it was always there in the back of my mind because of Shadow of the Horned Rat. And then I met you. Well, we not really met you. I rekindled our friendship, and you started teaching me Total War. And that started opening up so much more of the Age of Sigmar information, and just going back and forth with you, like I had to dive deeper into that. So I really appreciate you opening that kind of door for me at the same time.
Right. Yeah, I got introduced to Warhammer, fun fact. Like, I really wasn't into Warhammer until about 2011, 2012. My buddy's like, hey, I know you like RTSs, and I know you want like a game where you control like massive armies in the clash. He's like, you should check out Total War Warhammer. And I played the MMO, and I enjoyed the MMO that was back in the day. I think it has a private server now still. I can't remember the name.
Yeah.
But I remember playing as an orc. I think it's funny enough in it. But yeah, when I got into Total War Warhammer, I was like, man, this is great. I'm having so much fun controlling these massive armies. Boy, did I not know what I was doing. Me and Zan, when it gets completely against the lore in the first game we did, he was the dwarves and I was the greenskins. That was just directly south. I'm like, they're right next to each other. Good co-op buddies. Little did we know it was against the lore. Once I started diving more into the lore, like and just like you, I dove into hardcore Age of Sigmar lore, and I just literally, when I got Total War Warhammer, man, I just never put it down. The Total War Warhammer 2 came out, and I couldn't afford it for the longest time, and I was like, I want to play it so bad. Like, it was like a monkey on my back, you know, like just screaming, like, you need to play this. And then when I finally got it, man, putting it down, going on like, what, 1,400 hours, I think, into that game?
Friggin' almost 1,500 hours at this point, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a whirlwind.
It really has. Especially with all the other people that we've gotten into the game recently through our Discord. Like, getting the game for a bunch of different people. You know, this is kind of like your Dark Souls for me. Like, I'm I probably have that amount of hours between all the systems of Dark Souls that I've had just by itself. Like, God only knows how many hours I've actually put into Dark Souls at this point across PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PC, Xbox 360, Switch. I've played the game on 6, possibly 7 different mediums, and with like many different accounts or like characters between them. So I don't doubt that I'm somewhere up there in the 1,500 hours. And Warhammer is definitely like you're the Warhammer guru at this point, in my opinion.
I mean, like for our community, yeah, maybe, but like, man, I guarantee you, man, if I like go out there and do battles with people, man, they make me not look like the guru. That's for sure. Because I've watched, when you watch like the championship stuff like that, you're like, man, ooh, I don't know.
Yeah,
because those people know their stuff on the game.
And that's with anything, a Dark Souls speedrunner is going to blow me out of the water on almost everything that happens, that just kind of goes with anything, There's always going to be like the world record guitar player, but you can still be an amazing guitar player. It doesn't matter that the world record player uses it, And for me, like, out of everybody that I know and everybody in our community, you are the straight up total Warhammer guy.
Yeah, I mean that's literally one of the only games I play. I mean, so like D&D like games, but man, yeah, Warhammer is definitely my home. Total War, definitely. Man, it's just so much fun. And the thing I like about Total War Warhammer is it's never the same. You could do the exact same playthrough and some new factions rise up and that you have to fight against. Some of the other ones get wiped out that you're usually used to having to go against to compete for territory. And every battle is just completely different. Watching, the magic go off and just the chaos that happens in this, man, is great. I mean, you gotta, that's a lot to, watch out for. You're never able to keep up with everything. I've even watched very experienced players. They still can't keep up with everything that goes on the map.
Yep.
It's just such a great experience trying because you never think like, man, I need to get better at focusing on everything, and it's just you never can because you're always focused on like certain points of the battle. And like, I know for me personally, when I'm using Cav, I'll have it just running all the way across the map, not doing anything. And I'm like, oh crap, my Cav. Oh man.
I definitely know what you mean on the Cav thing, and I've because I recognized that very early on that would happen to me, I've like doubled down on making sure I use my Cav for something, and then making sure that they're still being used later, even if it's just to die. Like I would rather them have some use. And what I'll sometimes do is just like throw my infantry in, even like sometimes I know that that's a bad idea because you can end up putting the infantry into the wrong place and then they're losing and then you lose your infantry. But like I'll put the infantry in just to run the calves some more.
But yeah, I've done it with my cab before too, where I'm just like, I need to get something out of them, just charge them in, have them fight, it'll be fun. But the best way you can get out of your cab, which is hard to do when you're focused on everything else, like your magic, your infantries, the way they're set up and moving and stuff like that, getting them to cycle charge into the rear of the enemy infantry's formations, or getting them into the cookie jars, I like to call it, which is the artillery and the archers. Anything that just basically can't stand up the cab, basically, at that point.
Yeah. I wish there, I'm sure there's a mod for it, which, my stance on modding, but I wish there was already like a button that you could push for auto cycle charge, where it'll just use AI to cycle charge for you.
Right. That would be handy.
There's already skirmish mode, which is like, you might as well look at skirmish mode as basically the same thing, because like, if AI is already controlling it to run back and shoot, like, you could do that with Cav.
Yeah, I don't really like skirmish mode because it works with the archer horsemen or wood elf archers that can run and shoot at the same time. But if you have chaos marauders, there's any of the like barbarian cav, like they don't fire while moving. So like if an AI just kind of moves infantry in their direction, they're not doing anything at that point. They're just running away. They're not doing any type of damage or anything like that. Like it and it makes them useless. So I don't like depending on skirmish mode at all, even for the ones it's good for, because I want to try to get to the point to where I'm able to control everything at once. That's my goal, but I'm not there yet. That's for sure. I ain't nowhere near perfect though.
I'm sure it would be extended to auto cycle charging as well, though, because like auto cycle charging probably, if it's ran by AI and not manually done, it's probably not going to be done correctly.
Nope, probably not.
But at least it would exist, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. It would help people new into the game, because Total War, because as we experienced with some people from our community, it's a lot to take in when you first get in there. You're like, oh my gosh, what do I do? There's so much going on. What do I do here? What do I do in this situation? And it just takes keeping on playing and just letting those, and then you'll start noticing like, hey, these are mistakes that I was making. Now I won't be making them as much, because now I'm starting to get more muscle memory down for the game, getting the idea of how I need to move my infantry, stuff like that. Because again, every battle is different. You have to do a different tactic every time. Like when we did our little fun legendary campaign off stream, we were together doing the quarter camp strat just to survive, basically. With the two games.
Legendary Archon the Black, and I think you were playing Cetra.
Yep.
Just corner camping and watching them flee off the screen as the Casket of Souls just rams like deadly souls into the tops of them.
Yeah. Such a good strat, man.
Hilariously fun.
It was. I laughed so hard at watching a lot of those battles, and that's the thing I like about co-op Total War too. You can give your teammates some fruits, but also just being able to sit there and watch the battle unfold without having to worry about all your troops. Because there's times where I'll forget that I'm playing the battle and I'm just sitting there watching them fight, and I'm like, oh gosh, I need to pay attention.
Yep. And I don't think I told you about it. I meant to tell you about it. Me, Ghost, Dumpling, and Foxtrot did co-op battles together. We did some just straight PvP, build an army, attack each other type thing, and it was 2v2. That was a lot of fun. We kept Ghost likes to sit up on the hill with Empire volley guns and just let the enemies come down.
Yeah, he goes a gunpowder heavy defensive strategy. He kind of plays like a dwarf strategy with Empire, which can work, but he should probably be playing dwarves at that, because they're really good at that. Get people playing into them and stuff like that.
Yep, that was a lot of fun, and I think everybody learned quite a bit about using their armies and everything in it. But what was interesting to me is, without you, I wouldn't have gotten to play this game, because me and Zalos sat down years ago and tried to play this game. And I was playing Master Mundi, and every time I sat down to play, it was Eye of the Vortex, but every time I sat down to play it, within 4 turns, I would just get bodied, or if I did win, whatever was bodying me in those 4 turns, within 10 or 15 turns, I would just get crushed by another army. And it was disheartening, and I realized it's probably because I wasn't using 20 stacks. I wasn't making second armies. I know I wasn't making second army. But also just not knowing how to really use my units efficiently was getting me destroyed. I was playing the game probably like I was when I was a kid playing Shadow of the Horned Rat, which was just ram the dudes into the other dudes. They'll be fine.
And I definitely did that on my first time playing Warhammer. Just send everything, and even archers in the melee. It'll be fine. Just throw them in there. They'll be all right. And hope you win, basically. Yeah. It took me a long time to get a lot of the stuff down pat. I mean, I'm glad I could help you out on learning the game and stuff like that. I mean, it's been great seeing a lot of people in the community get into it and stuff like that. And I mean, if anybody's here from Brimthen's Discord, I'd be more than happy to help you all out if y'all send me a message if y'all have any questions about Warhammer.
Yeah, he is the guy to go. He's a great teacher. He is a great guru for Total War Warhammer games.
And yeah, I'll sit down and run a co-op with you, or you do a solo campaign. I can just watch you from like a casual stream point and try to help you out as much as I can, best I can. I mean, for the most part, it just comes down to just playing the game. I mean, it's just like any other thing. You gotta keep playing it until you get better at it.
Foxtrot said, "Hammers are strong, me like."
I mean, that is a very powerful dwarf unit. That's for sure. The hammers, man, they do out a lot of damage, but man, they are squishy. You put some armor piercing on them.
But yeah, so that's one of our next goals with Warhammer is now to kind of transition, I guess, away from the Total War just a little bit. We'll probably still play some. Obviously, we have our series coming out where you teach me the game, and then it transitions into an actual game where I know how to play, basically. But we're going to start painting models pretty soon, I'm sure. It's going to start out with us building them, and we're still kind of planning it out, but I'm really excited to sit down and build and paint more Warhammer armies. Right now, I'm still testing out my airbrush and working on the Tau, which have been sitting around waiting to be painted for a long time. And I'm excited to be getting back into the tabletop side of things. And this new edition's coming out here in June. Lots of changes to the game, and I'm excited to learn the new Age of Sigmar stuff.
Yeah, me too. I'm very excited to learn the new Age of Sigmar stuff because I know, like, when you first taught me, tabletop, which was on 40K side, but I mean, still taught me basically the basic mechanics of both of them at that point. It's so much to take in at first. It's just like Total War, but worse in my opinion. So I'm just like, oh, okay, I gotta learn the stats of these. I gotta learn the stats of your army and mine, and it's just like, oh, so much. But man, it isn't so much fun. I lost every battle against Brent, but man, did I have a blast doing it the whole time. It was great.
It was a lot of fun. I was really, really worried about the Gene Stealers, though. I won't lie, because those Gene Stealers, man, they're scary. They're real scary.
The Plague Monks of 40K.
Yeah, basically. And I'm expecting slightly that the Plague Monks are that way too. Looking at their stats briefly that one time, like I really do feel like the Plague Monks are just straight up Gene Stealers.
Probably they're blenders in Total War, so I'm assuming they're going to be blenders in the tabletop. And I can't wait to see it because I am equipping them with 2 swords and just letting them go ham.
Go ham for sure. I'm excited to see how the Storm Vermin's set up, or if they make any changes to the Storm Vermin. I heard a rumor that they're not changing the battle tomes very much. They're just adding to it, so to speak. But I don't know if they're adding models to armies. And I would really like to see the Storm Vermin get more of a vamp, because I was disappointed as well when I saw that they were just halberd units. Because I would also like to see them have their other stuff like shields and swords and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely up for that too, because I definitely like to see some sword and shields, because they were probably my favorite variant. I do like the halberds too, but I don't know. I mean, this might have been just, for my first ever MMO. When I play it, I always play as a tank. Traditional shield and a one-handed weapon, usually a sword or an axe at that point. But like, always just like the beefy infantry that the first one's in, basically taking all the blows and stuff like that. And the halberds, I just like the halberds are cool, but I mean, it makes them feel kind of naked without that shield.
Yep, I agree. On Vermintide too, do they have their shields and swords, or are they just halberd users?
They have shield and sword and halberds.
Yeah, I'd like to see other variants of them. Because if you go on there to look up some of the imagery, like on Wiki and stuff, I was able to find Storm Vermin with black powder pistols.
Ooh.
Now, just,
I've never seen that picture.
Imagine that, and that came straight from the Wiki. Like, I don't know what clan or if it's some type of storm vermin, because I know that there's a special type of albino storm vermin, which I think is super cool. But I just I would love to see like different variants of storm vermin just entirely.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, with the new revamp of Age of Sigmar, maybe we'll get to see some newer models just randomly come out. And on top of that, Warhammer 3 Total War coming out. We might see some new units coming out. So excited about that too. Oh man, can't wait to play that. And also, I appreciate you gifting me that game, by the way, because I didn't think I was going to be able to pay for it, to be honest, when it first came out.
I'm a giver, man. I be giving people games all the time. Like, I try to like get in there and give people new experiences and stuff. Like, I just sent Inkler's Warhammer 1 and 2 just now, like before the stream. So I've given like 5 people Dark Souls to watch them go through it. Like, I like getting people new experiences.
That you do, man. That you do. I mean, you've introduced me to so much new stuff since we got reacquainted and since you moved back down to Tennessee. Like, man, new stuff I probably would have never ever picked up if I didn't get introduced to it from your stream and when I come visit you and stuff like that. Like, I was like, this is a thing. This is cool. I need to play more.
I need to play more of this. But it's a double-edged sword. Like, one of the problems with me like giving people stuff is like I'll teach you a new game, like the Binding of Isaac card game, and then it's like, all right, now we're playing Dice Masters. Like, it's we've got to kind of like reverse back just a little bit to experience the games more,
Right.
Because it never ends with me.
Right, but you get to learn new things, like new games, stuff like that. Then you can go back and play it. Like, well, I like this one. Play a couple more games of this, stuff like that. I mean, it's great though. I mean, learn all these new board games and stuff like that. Like, there's plenty of people in the community who I would love to, sit down at a table with them as well, with both of us, and play those games, and we would have a massive blast. I bet. Also, rented friendship, jokingly, of course.
Dude, the Binding of Isaac card game, you can end some friendships just because of the politics that can come up from it. Like, I love it.
and that's the thing I like in free-for-all RTS. That comes up a lot, like in the RTS that you played as well, like diplomacy, stuff like that. Like, hey, you want to team up against this guy? And then the other two's like, well, if y'all going to team up, we're going to team up. It becomes a 2v2 instead of a free-for-all.
Yep. That's why I like the Commander so much, because if you sit down and play Magic Commander, you've got like usually 2 or 3 other people, and you just sit down and you're like, okay, I know this is about to kill you, but I can counter it for you if you're willing to do this for me. And just like the bartering of like Commander that you don't see in like other Magic game modes is just so funny.
Oh, yes. Actually, I want to try that out someday, Commander. And see how it plays.
Oh, yeah, you right. You were there just for the draft. You haven't gotten to play the Commander side of things. That's right. I need to sit down with you on the Commander side of things.
Yeah, I heard it's super fun. It's probably the best out of all the versions of Magic is Commander.
I'm hyper dedicated to Commander. It's because like Standard is the salty competitive side, and then Commander is literally just a group of people that have spent way too much on the game and are just wanting to sit there and watch their deck do something. It doesn't matter if they win. They want to see their deck or your deck do something. And that something is usually like this mind-blowing, elaborate thing that's just like, all right, I put down these 4 cards and turn this one sideways infinite numbers of times, and then you take 1,000 billion damage, and I gain 1,000 billion 1/1 creatures that all die and destroy our decks. Like, that, nobody cares about losing or winning. They just want to see somebody do something stupid.
And I see a connection between Tabletop Warhammer and this already.
Yeah.
I want to see stuff blow up. I want to see people do things.
I don't care if I lose. I just want to see that Titan Castellian destroy 4 units of Gene Stealers in like a moment.
And I got to see that, definitely. Firsthand.
And it was lore friendly. So that's
It
always...
was.
There's a deck in there. Zalost just referenced one of the decks that I have. It's the mono blue deck that like focuses on artifacts. And for like the bulk of the game, you'll do basically nothing, and you're just trying to survive whatever your opponents are doing. And your whole deck is just building an engine, and I literally mean that. Like you are genuinely building this like mechanical machine of cards that are designed to work together to accomplish God knows what, because there's like so many different win cons in that deck. Like that deck wins in so many different ways, but equally it can be stopped real easily. Board wipe, counter that, destroy target artifact, creature, or whatever. Like if anything gets ruined, the gears grind and it comes to a halt. But it will always win if left alone.
I would say that does sound interesting. That kind of reminds me of Exodia from Yu-Gi-Oh! At that point.
It kind of
all
is.
these pieces together. Exodia, one hit.
It's actually kind of like that, except you have cards on the field that's like, this mechanic looks for Exodia's left leg. This mechanic looks for Exodia's right leg. Like, this does this to create Exodia, you know?
Yeah, that seems like an interesting deck. It sounds like something I would play. Commander.
It's complicated. I am not gonna lie. As far as like my commander decks go, that is the one that's the most complicated. But it's hyper fun to play, because there's some of the win cons are like creating infinite creatures. Some of them is creating infinite mana. Some of them is literally casting every spell in your deck. One of the win cons is literally stealing all of your opponent's cards. Like if they play a card, you put it on your side of the field, and they essentially lose because they can't play Magic.
God. Watch me play Magic. You play for me.
Exactly. It's hyper fun. But I've got a deck that is basically that level of strength. They all do different things, but one for each color. And then I've got 2 5-color decks. One of them is dragons. One of them is every good card in Magic put into one deck, basically. And then I've got some more decks that I'm making, and all of them are like, most of them are proxy decks, because like I can't afford to spend $5,000 on each of these decks. Like I don't have $40,000 to spend on Magic, so I make a lot of proxies. And because that they're the kind of decks that I want to play anyway.
Yeah, it's like, again, I have no idea what's going on with Magic, but that does sound interesting.
Yeah, because a lot of those decks that I've printed off are like $5,000 to $6,000 in like value if you had bought the cards. Some of them more. I think, yeah, the Golos deck that I have is like 18,000 or 17,000, because it has literally every one of the dual lands and like fetch lands and like all the expensive lands that's in the game, basically. And then it's like every one of the best cards of every color.
Ooh.
So like that deck gets up there to like $15,000 to $18,000, and I'm not spending that.
Oh no, Lord no.
That's a
lot.
But
oof.
I do have a lot of printed decks as well. Mainly, you know, the pre-constructed decks by Wizards. But I do have a few that I've built myself, so.
Yeah, I'm interested to see those, and like kind of look through your decks and see like how you build them and stuff.
Oh yeah, we'll sit down. We'll sit down and build you one. Let you pick a card, and we'll build a deck completely around it or something.
It's gonna be Johnson Boats.
No. Oh. Now you got me thinking. Ooh. a giant tribal deck dedicated to boats.
Yeah, fun fact for like no anybody that didn't really tune into that Magic stream or just hasn't went back and watched the VOD. Man, like I was so confident in my deck that I was building. We was in that like round turban. I just like looked Brandon in the eye and I'm like, Johnson boats, it's gonna smash. And he's like, do you even know what it does? I'm like, absolutely not.
Well, what was funny to me, okay, is like we hadn't talked about your history of Magic very much, or if you had mentioned it, I was probably busy and trying to set everything up because that day I was setting everything up while everybody was getting ready. But I didn't know like how much you had played, and I remember you'd played before, like, or I thought you did back in high school, and so I my first notion was, oh, he's gonna build an equipment deck, and like that's exciting because I had quit Magic and then had came back, and I hadn't messed with equipment like not equip, it's crew. I hadn't messed with any crew decks before. So I was just like, oh, he must know what he's talking about. He's making crew decks. Like, okay, cool. And then like a little ways later into the stream, like we're about to start playing and you're like, yeah, I've got all the crew cards and stuff. And I'm like, wait, do you know what they do? Because you don't want all crew cards.
And I was like, nope, I have no idea, but I'm working with it.
That was so funny. It was so funny to me.
My confidence level just up there, and like false confidence, like I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm confident that this deck will work. But I mean, to be fair, I did win. I won 3 games with it at least, so I'm proud of that. And one of them was against you, which was very surprising to me that I actually was able. Yep. Like again, you know, it kind of levels the playing field with everyone. Man, when I sat down in front of you, I'm like, all right, time to take my spanking 101 lesson here, taking back to school, getting the paddle.
Oh man, and then Zamfir goes home with the trophy. Like I was so proud of him for like winning that entire night, and like his deck dominated, man. Like he did so good on that.
Right. I actually about got him one time, and I know you about got him one time too. I hit him for like, I think, what was it, like 12? And his eyes went so big, he went, do what? And I'm like, yeah, 12 damage. He goes, oh. And he couldn't do anything about it, so he had to like take it. It was great.
I just made a whole lot of bad picks and didn't pay too much attention to my colors.
Right, but that's the fun of doing those, like, you know, building it while you go, though. I mean, that was fun. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, drafts are fun. Like, when I first started playing Magic drafts, I didn't know what I was doing either. And even if you go there not knowing what you're doing, and you just sit down and just pick cards like everybody else, and then just build a deck, it is so much fun even if you lose. Because, like, just the experience of, like, opening packs, passing them around, laughing with people about what you're grabbing and stuff, and then just like building this mishmash of cards and seeing how they interact is just a different experience for card games.
It is. And that was one of my first experiences with Magic. That's what the fun part was. That was like my 3rd or 4th match at that point. Yeah. And then afterwards, that was probably like my 7th match after I played you those a couple of rounds. But man, a
whole bunch of matches.
Yeah, a whole bunch of matches. I started getting the basics down pretty quick. But that deck I had was so funny, man. Johnson. Recommend anybody, if you do a draft, Johnson boats if there's an option for them.
Boats and giants. Oh man. Well, congratulations, Foxtrot, on getting your graduation there. Have a good one.
Heck yeah, man. Congrats.
But anyway, yeah, we had a lot of fun back in high school at the breakfast tables. Got up to a bunch of different antics and everything. When I left to go to Kentucky, I went from this giant school with a very close-knit group, and it was a big group. And I went to a school that basically my graduating class was like 8 to 12 people or somewhere right in there. And so like my big close-knit group of friends that I had was the same size as the people I was graduating with when I got to Kentucky. So it was very strange, because there was like 300 students or something, and it was grades pre-K all the way up to senior year, and a lot of classrooms was like a mixture of years. So like for example, my art class, you had freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors all together in one class. So the teachers were like giving out different assignments, and it's so weird, but like it made sense. Yeah, and I didn't care about school even when I was with you guys, so it didn't matter to me what they were doing.
Right. Man, I would have been so confused. I've been like, what? So I get this and they get that?
Yeah.
What?
And they had to teach in a certain way too, because they would like have to explain things for each of those assignments that they were doing differently. It was just so weird. And I was the only goth in the whole school. And I dedicated myself to being the goth of the school too, is what was so funny. And I had it was when I first got there, my art teacher was the only teacher to try to put me on like blast, so to speak, because I was just phoning in all of my homework. Like I was just doing the bare minimum I needed to do, right? And he was one of those teachers that wanted to push students to do more, right? And so it was about a rose. It was about like this flower or something. And he got real mad that I just like did the bare minimum to make the flower or whatever, and said that, you know, I'm gonna flunk you in this class if you don't do it right and all that. Like, you have this attitude about you. Like, and first of all, I didn't even talk to him or have an attitude. I just was, because like I partially was lonely, because like I had just got out of this great groups of friends, moved to a new place, didn't really have too many friends, and here I am at school. I just want to go to school and go home. I became that kind of kid. Like it wasn't about socialing. It was, I just want to go to school and then go back home and play video games. That's all I care about. And he couldn't really know me very well from that. So he had just assumed that I had a bad attitude and all this. And I said, I don't have an attitude. I'm just coming to school and going home. That's all I care about. And, you know, I don't care about a rose that I will never do again in the rest of my life. Like, if you want me to do something, make it interesting. And I just left. And it caught him off guard. And it like, I can't remember if I got punished for it. I think I got detention or something over it, because it was like, they pulled like the talking back or whatever, being rude to a teacher thing or something like that. Well, I guess it stuck with him for a little bit, because like in the following weeks after that, he started pushing me to do different assignments than the rest of the students by like teaching me clay earlier on. And I had interest in clay because I had messed with clay just a little bit before that, but not much. And when he started doing that, I was like, all right, so like, you know, I've made this cup with a face a long time ago, and that was really fun. So he let me build clay figures and stuff. And I got really good at like working with clay and that kind of stuff. And I ended up doing a clay dragon.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Let me go grab it real quick. I'll show it on Streamer Fest. But
oh yeah, go for it.
This is also one of the very rare moments you're going to see the color red in my life, and it's because I didn't have too many options for glazing and painting and stuff like that. So, but I ended up making this clay dragon thing out of clay, mostly a mold, obviously, because I don't really have the handiwork to like do the whole thing by hand. but did this matte glaze stuff on it to make it look really neat. And he ended up really enjoying my company and like, you know, let me open up a little bit more. And I ended up becoming like one of his favorite students. I ended up leading their Halloween haunted house for the whole school.
That's cool.
Where we got all the students to do like different art projects to make this big Halloween thing. And I designed like the layout, I helped build everything, that kind of thing, and then like did my own like exhibit. And all of that was really cool. But the reason why I brought it up was I ended up becoming friends with a teacher.
Hey,
and
whatever works.
at the end of the year, he ended up saying, you know, I think it's really funny that my and your relationship like really was bad at the start, and I had so many different like feelings about who you were and what you were doing. But now that I've gotten to know you and know that, you know, you were just not interested in school, you just weren't interested in being here because of like, you know, where you came from. Like he was like super glad to have like met me and had that experience because it like opened up his eyes for future students and stuff. And the reason why I bring it up and the reason why I brought it up in this one is I ended up having that same kind of situation happen in college. And between you guys at the breakfast table, where like we had adults that didn't understand what we were doing, they were constantly judging us based on how we dressed, based on what we were doing, you know, our interactions that we were having, the fact that we were playing games and junk. Between the teachers that at the smaller school that did the same thing, and then eventually college, I learned that, you know, the average person judges the cover of the book. And I wanted to create like my YouTube channel, my Twitch stuff, everything of like, don't judge a book by its cover. Just because you feel this way about something doesn't mean you shouldn't give it a try. So every time I meet new friends or even rekindle old friendships, I try to sit down and show them new experiences. You know, you'll often meet somebody that's like, I don't like sushi, I'm not going to eat raw fish. But like, if you sit down and give it another shot and you give it a proper chance, there's a chance that you end up enjoying sushi and that becomes your favorite food. You know what I'm saying? Never just like give up purely because you have a feeling about it. Always take that second step. And I live by that because of all of it.
Right. I mean, that is a great experience to learn. I mean, and that's why, you know, whenever we got reintroduced, I'm like, man, he's really serious about it. When he wants you to try something new, he will make sure you try something new, and it's great too. I mean, there's been so many games he's got me into. I'm sure there's going to be eventually foods he's going to get me into that I'm like, I don't like that. There's definitely been games too where I'm like, I don't think I'd be interested in that. But then, you know, tried it and I was like, well, man, this was actually fun.
So Lost, I'll save that one for when we do a podcast eventually, because I'm sure we'll do a podcast at some point as well.
Oh, no.
Yeah, now that's going to be a fun one too, because like there's a lot of information that me and him can parry back and forth from my time in Atlanta and everything. Yeah, Dumpling over here saying, you know, that's the same reason why we got him to get a chance to beat Dark Souls, which, by the way, congratulations on beating Dark Souls. We were just talking about you earlier.
Yep, and I was also so happy. I was ear to ear when you took down that final boss. I was just like, I'm not even in the Dark Souls. I'm, you know, as I stated earlier, but I was just like, yes, the legend has completed Dark Souls.
Yeah. And we could feel your desperation in every single swing that you were doing, man. That was hilarious.
Yes, I definitely could. I was like, man, he is really wanting to get this. Look at him go.
But anyway, so there's going to be a myriad of new experiences that I'm going to end up getting you into, honestly. Because there's so much more that like life has in store for everybody. Like there's so many other chances and things that we can do.
Right. But the fun fact, I'm not used to, trying a lot of new things.
Mm-hmm.
The way, a lot of like the way my family lives, pretty defensive. Whatever's the safest route, that's what we usually take.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't try a whole lot of new things. I just try whatever usually I, find comfortable and I stick with it. That's why I'm like pretty vanilla on like a whole lot of stuff. Like I like the basic hamburger. I like the basic ice cream, which is vanilla, stuff like that. I'm a very, very, as I guess Boba stated right when I was talking to him about it, I'm a classic man. Kind of, I guess that'd be
classic man. Yeah,
I said vanilla, but he's like, nah, classic man is the way you need to describe yourself.
Yeah,
but yeah,
totally.
like trying new things is just like really outside my comfort zone for me. But like I'm starting to get used to it. I mean, there for a while, like we got rigged, and I was like, man, I don't know about it. Like, come on, just do it, just give it a shot. And now I'm just like, yeah, let's go, let's do it.
And that's the thing, you'll never know what you're going to enjoy until you take that step to try something new. Like when you get out of that comfort zone to kind of wade into the deep end of the water, like that's only time when you know that you can swim. And I think it's a beautiful thing to watch people kind of get into something new and watch their experiences. And that's one of the reasons why I like to watch people play Dark Souls so much, because Dark Souls is a completely different game compared to any other RPG that's out there. If you go into Dark Souls expecting it to be like God of War, where you're just going to smash through everything and you're just going to win, there's going to be that friggin' Baldur Knight that's on the stairs and just like, whoop, and then he's got you in the gut. It's so funny to watch people have expectations of Dark Souls and them just get crushed, and then they're having to learn the game, and they learn that dance, and then they develop the skill of dodging, blocking, moving, and you can see them grow, and that growth of skill is just a wonder to watch for me. I love watching new players because I get to kind of relive my own experience through it, because once you've learned those skills, you don't ever forget them. Like, I can't never go back and experience Dark Souls for the first time again. That's just impossible. Even with a new game, like if you go from Dark Souls 1 to Dark Souls 3, sure, it's a different game, different enemies. There's some different mechanics, but you understand the core thing of dodge, rolling, moving, blocking. You've learned that. And that's just not something that goes away. So it would have to be a different entire system of game in order to pick it up. But even then, picking up Dark Souls, it's a game that teaches you patience. So as soon as you've learned to be cautious and not take the game as if you're like the superhero and it's some power trip like most games put you. Because if you look at God of War, it's just all about how strong Kratos is and crashing through every enemy, thousands of enemies constantly. Mm-hmm. Dark Souls, you could be max level, you could be super good at the game, and if you just underestimate a hollow, you'll die.
Right. And I've seen that, and this is a great experience, like what you were just talking about. I've been there since the beginning when Dumpling started, and you could just see the progression from start to end with him, and it's great. Like, I remember, he's like, I've got this. This is I'm using my, what was that game called? Monster Hunter experience. I'm using my Monster Hunter experience. I got this, and then he'll go around the corner and it's just bonk. And he's just dead. And he goes, "What? What was that?
What was that?"
Great. It was great. I laughed so hard at that. I don't know how many times, because he'd done it multiple times going through his playthrough. It's like, I've got this now. Then eventually he became, like you said, more defensive and stuff like that. It was just great to see.
Yep.
His change. It was great.
And it doesn't take, maybe 3-4 playthroughs before you can actually start saying, okay, I've got the game, I know what's going on. Because once you're through your third or fourth playthrough, that's when you can easily say, yeah, I got it. But even with me, I'll load up a game, and if I'm playing a play style I'm not used to, because I sat down to try to do a stream where I played rapier only with magic, and my goal was to use magic and rapier, and that was what I was going to get through the game. because they're the two that I never use. I don't ever use magic. I use pyromancy or I use faith. I don't ever use rapiers because I use halberds or I use big axes or literally any other weapons in the game that's not dex. I'll use katanas before I use rapiers and just play the game. And I struggled. I even struggled on the friggin' gargoyles because I wasn't used to not having that higher damage and having to poke more often. Like, instead of getting one hit in, I needed to get like 3. And I could get 3 in because it's a faster weapon, but because I'm not used to trying to spam that attack, I got hit more often.
Ooh. Yeah, that's cool though, like the different experience and stuff like that you get with it. Like it's basically a brand new game where you're going in with a different weapon. And I noticed that, like, you know, whenever I was watching you, like, it's kind of new build, and I can tell, like, from your experience, like, all right, I've got this, I'm expecting this, and then you just get completely obliterated. You're like, huh, yep, that just happened.
I always recognize it's possible for it to happen. It's just very rare for me to get bodied or whatever. And usually it's stuff that comes out of the expected, like the getting parried on the stairs in Undead Parish. Like, I have done the Undead Parish stairs, I don't know, thousands of times. And that Baldur Knight has never been able to get that parry. He's never landed that parry. And it was this one time where it's like, aha, you're parrying on the stairs, I'm gonna hit you. And then it was like, nope, I'm getting hit. Okay, I'm dead. Cool. I got so furious on that stream when that happened. I could not believe
I was
that.
laughing the whole time.
Oh, I laughed. I think it's funny. Every time I die in a way like that, I think it's funny as crap.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. I love it. I love that game. But, you know, the same thing kind of happens on me with Payday 2. For example, I thought I knew everything there was to know about Shadow Raid. And here it is in the security room. There's a box of cash. I have no idea how many times I've missed that box of cash. Because it just blends in with that corner. Yeah.
I never knew about it either because I played it before, you know, like I didn't do it on the hardest difficulty. I was playing medium, I guess would be the best word. And like, I never knew that there was money in that room. Like when you told me that, I was like, really? Like I didn't know. You're like, yeah, there's money here. Come here and look. And I look. I'm like, well, I'll be darned. Then just take it and leave with it.
And it makes me wonder how many other things I've missed because, like, with Shadow Raid, I thought I knew where everything was. So obviously, I'm just going into a room and scanning the room for the places I'm looking for. And if I'm not, if there's a new place, I'm just not looking at it because I looked at all the other places that it could have been, not there.
Oh man, perfect example. Freaking election day with the crowbars. Oh my
God. Oh God.
How many tries did that take us with the crowbars? Like we're like trying our best to learn. Like we got the crowbar spawns down, and we go look. I'm like, well, where are they at? They're not here.
No, the election day one kills me because it's like, hey, over there in that giant area of stuff, you see that little pixel right there? That's a crowbar. Okay. I guess.
Every time, too. I remember because you're like, there's one under this crate. I can barely see it. And I'm just sitting there. I'm just like, are you serious? And I'm like, walk over. I'm like, huh.
Or the ones that's like hanging on the friggin' stairwells. It looks like a pole itself.
Oh, yeah. I walked by one. I remember because you were sitting there messing with me. You're like, you know where the crowbar is? And I'm like, nope. And you're like, there's one right next to you. And I turn and look. I'm like, huh. I've never noticed.
Yeah, because we started like getting to the point where we were like, there's got to be crowbars on this. There's no way to do the objective without crowbars. Where are they? And we would like get a guard mad and we would just start sprinting all over the place, like shoving our nose in every little corner we could to try to find it like a truffle pig.
This one here? Nope. This one over here? Nope.
That was so infuriating.
It was. Because after like the 40th try, like, we were starting to, at least I'm going to speak for myself. I was starting to run out of patience. I'm like, my gosh, this is killing me. But at the same time, we were so invested. I wanted to get it. I wanted to beat that mission. And I know you were too. You're just like, gosh, screw election day. They said this was the fastest mission, and we're over here like on the 50th try, still trying to get it.
Oh god, I love it. That's so awesome. But yeah. But yeah, I don't really have too much else to talk about. I do have to bring up the one thing that my community has requested me.
Oh, boy.
Every single podcast, and I know you know it because you've watched every podcast, so I'm
Yep.
going to go ahead and let you say it.
Do I watch anime? And this is going to be, well, at least for you, I know that this is going to be like, my gosh, you like power creep, don't you?
Oh no.
Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, and that is like probably the main two. And I'm going to be also the one to say it, Pokemon. I'm also going to be the one to say it's anime.
Well, you know my stance on that. Pokemon is an anime.
Yeah, I consider it an anime. I don't consider it a cartoon. I consider that an anime. But yeah, that's about like the main three I watch. I mean, and I want to watch One Piece. I actually want to watch that because I watched the kids version a little bit and I was into it, but I'm just never, I don't watch TV a whole lot. I'd rather be playing games instead of TV.
Yeah.
But like, late in the night, I like to watch stuff, and that's when I watch or when I'm sick, because I got like a really bad sinus infection. I watched all Dragon Ball Z Super all the way through there. The time I was sick with the sinus infection, couldn't get out of bed, and it was great too. I mean, that was super fun. But like, I get the you don't like power creep, like somebody just like basically raise an eyebrow, and boom, there goes the world. But man.
I just saw a TikTok the other day, and I hearted it because I may try to show it later, but it was some anime, and I don't know what it's called, and some people might know what I'm talking about, but literally the character steps up on top of a building, puts her hand out, like, directly in front of her, crosses her finger, or, like, separates her pinky and her ring finger from her index and middle finger, and then blinks, and, like, 3 buildings in front of her disintegrate into like pebbles and just fall to the ground. And okay, cool. Like, that's just boring to me. Like, I don't care about that level of power. Like, I want to see struggle in my characters. And you brought up power creep, and then you brought up Naruto, and Naruto is the best example in the world for me on that topic, because Naruto is a great anime until Pain. Pain is the first, like, super overpowered thing pulling meteors down from the sky to like destroy stuff. And Naruto has this huge build up to there of like the town doesn't like him. He's trying to prove himself to his friends, and then he saves the town from Pain, and they rejoice, and everybody sees Naruto's ability and accepts Naruto. That is where Naruto ends for me, because it starts bringing in those Pain level characters. And up until then, characters can get injured, characters can die, characters straight up have a limit to their progression and power. Like, look at Rock Lee, going through the gates and can only take so much power from his body. People only have so much chakra. They have limitations, and they have to struggle through those limitations, train and build those limitations to hinder them less.
Right.
But then you get to Pain, where you started doing the eye power and like the demons inside them giving them power, and it became more of this like not themselves, not their struggle, but this kind of handed to them power. And I just never liked that.
Right. I get that. But like in Dragon Ball Z Super, like yeah, they're getting way up there in the power scale. Like, they're in like God tier, God power light modes now. But like, man, like they did a pretty decent job showing like Goku, Vegeta, reaching their next forms and stuff like that, like getting to that point and stuff like that. Like they were struggling to get to that point. Like it showed them struggling.
Yeah.
And like the final arc of, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but that hasn't watched it. But of course, they got one guy that's like not to spoil it, but like he's super, way stronger than even the gods. So the gods would carry this guy, and and Goku, of course. Oh yeah, I'm ready to fight him. They made the Goku character. He's always ready to fight somebody strong.
Yeah.
and he gets like demolished the first time he fights this guy. Like he legit struggles through this whole entire scenario with this guy. Like I was like, man, they really are putting it through right here. But then people's major complaint, of course, he's going to reach a new power level, and I ain't even gonna lie, he becomes like super OP in that form.
But see, that's the thing. When the first time I watched Goku's hair go gold, he was super OP.
This is true. I mean, for that point,
it's always been super OP. That's the point that I'm getting at. There's never a you can't go back from that power level. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
I recognize why Dragon Ball Z is a good show. It is a good show. I'm not saying it's a bad show. I don't call really hardly any animes bad. They have their audiences, and everybody should watch what they would want to watch and enjoy what they want to enjoy. It's just kind of my preference that I don't go for power creep stuff. I loved the first season of Dragon Ball Z. I watched all the way up past Frieza's death, basically. And I kind of lost it after that because of what they had to do to basically beat Frieza. Right. And then I just lost interest from there. And Death Note was pretty much the first anime that I got into. And I would almost argue that Death Note is the reason why I feel that way. Because you had a very mortal character that had a power that was given to him, but being mortal is a huge limitation. Like, sure, you're able to write down someone's name and kill them, and that is insanely powerful from anywhere as long as you got their name and their picture. That's an insanely powerful ability, godlike ability. But if I had a gun, I could just kill the dude, you know? I mean, like, that right. Limitation, and then the cat and dog of, like, not getting found by, L and the back and forth that they had. I like to watch the struggle, so to speak.
Yeah, the climb, the slowly progression, the climb to the peak of the end, basically.
Yep. And that's probably why I like Dark Souls so much.
Struggled.
Yep. And
Dark Souls is exactly that. Struggling all the way through it, going, oh my gosh. Like, we'll use some, words from Mr. W. Wish I had a beeper, because I know he has it. Just him just constantly hitting that button every time something happens. He's like, gosh, beep, censoring himself. Yeah, like, man. But, yeah, I get where you're coming from on that. But, like, I still, like, enjoy Dragon Ball Z so much.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're going to go after this. I really don't. Even I'm like, where can they go after this? Like, like Goku's, like, his power level's just up there with the gods now, and it's like, well, how can you go further than that at this point,
Yep.
Like, but I guess we'll see. I know that they'll do something, that's for sure. And I will say, though, like, the ending of Super, like, because it's a tournament of power, the time limit is 45 minutes, and it lasts 2 seasons. That's always got me about Dragon Ball Z, like the Frieza ordeal. I know you probably caught this too. Frieza's like, you got 5 minutes where the planet explodes, and it's like 10 episodes later, it still hasn't blew up. It's been like 3 hours at that point worth of watching episodes.
Yeah. And there's a few animes that end up making that kind of trope. It's just kind of a common thing. But I understand why Dragon Ball Z is good. A large portion of it is the animation style. The fights are awesome. I've even watched a few fights just on YouTube without having to watch the whole anime. And that's actually something that, like, has bothered me on Naruto, because, like, I love the story of Naruto, and I have found myself wanting to pick it back up and give it another chance and, like, go down that rabbit hole. Like I said earlier, you don't know until you take that big step. But it's just I kind of know where we're going from watching YouTube fights and playing some of the games and just talking with other people about Naruto, that I know that, like, I'm going to hit those moments where I just roll my eyes and it's just not for me. And I don't really want to ruin what I already have experienced of Naruto by watching more and knowing that I might end up regretting it. Because right now I still stand, like, Naruto is an awesome anime. Like, it really is. Because it hits all those notes that I was talking about up until Pain.
Right.
So I don't really want to sully it just yet, but one day I might, because I've watched a few of the fights on YouTube, and they are some really cool fights, like both in Dragon Ball Z and like later time Naruto.
I will say my favorite fight in Naruto so far, and I literally get chills every time I watch it, is when he's going against the Tail Beast all at once. I'm not going to run it for anybody that hasn't watched. Yeah. That fight with him and the Tail Beast, man, that was incredible. Especially like when he hits his peak during the fight. Like, man, it's great. Like, he struggles all the way through it, then all of a sudden he hits a peak again. And then it's just like, oh man, it's go time now. It's just a great feeling to watch. But I also get like Pain. Like, I remember when I got to that point, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy's ridiculous.
And I loved him. I loved Pain. But I knew, because at that time I had already formed that opinion, Mm-hmm. I knew that Pain was as far as I'd be able to go, because anything pretty much stronger than Pain and I would be, and then like the whole, Nine Tails battle area stuff. Like, I don't like those big super battles. It's like watching a Godzilla movie. Like, I'm not, like, I like Godzilla. I think Godzilla's cool, but like watching him rampage over a town just isn't as interesting to me.
Right. I get that. But I'm a huge fan of that kind of stuff. Nothing wrong either way with your opinion, right? Nothing wrong either way. Because I grew up on a game, on a PS2 game. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of it or not. It's called War of the Monsters.
War of the Monsters.
Yeah, and it's basically a one-on-one, or it could be a free-for-all of, it's just like, picture Godzilla. There's a giant, like King Kong in it. There's like just giant.
Yeah, no, and it's 3D. It moves around through the town. It's got the Yes, no, I've watched this game. Yeah, no, I haven't gotten to play it, but I have watched other people playing it, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Because it when we talk about mediums, it's different for video games, obviously.
Right. Well, yeah, I was just making the example.
Yeah.
No.
That kind of stuff. Dude, that brings back such a cool memory for me, because like I had some friends that played that game, and I loved watching them play it. Like that was such a cool game.
It was, and the fact that like you can like pull off like this metal pole out of the ground, throw it, and stab it through another monster that you're fighting and stuff like that, and they're having to like struggle to pull it out and stuff like that. You can pick them up, throw them through like 5 buildings all at once. Pick up a SWAT card that's coming at you, or tank, and use it as a weapon. It was great. Yeah, each of them had their own abilities. It was hard too. That game was actually pretty hard. Like when you're trying to unlock other characters.
And that's also a thing. So like, for power creep and stuff, it's different for video games, because like video games, I'm trying to take on the role, and if I'm playing a superhero game, I want to feel like the superhero. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if I'm watching a movie, it's different. I'm not putting myself into the role of Spider-Man when I'm watching a Spider-Man movie. I'm just watching Spider-Man trying to see what he does.
Right.
And same thing with power creep, though. You can have an extremely powerful character, almost godlike. You could have a Goku type character, But if it's based on how you tell that character and the atmosphere that it goes into. Because 2 of the biggest, like, clearly it's power creep, but I still enjoy it kind of shows, is One Punch Man and Overlord. Overlord especially so, because you have a literal character that no other character in his world can possibly ever beat. Possibly the strongest character in his world, at least for the last 2-3 seasons. But he has inner problems. He has emotional issues. He's struggling to fight with what is right and what is wrong within that struggle. So it's told in such a different kind of way, and I like the way that they're telling it, if that makes sense. And then with One Punch Man, they're making fun of the trope. Like,
Jesus.
You have an extremely powerful character who is super dumb and just funny. So it can be told in different ways. I use Dragon Ball Z as the best example because it is the best example of power creep. It can be a little slow, and Zalos brought it up in chat here. We're watching super fast people and how they perceive normal time. Of course, it's going to be a long 4 to 45 minutes, right? And I get that, but like, I don't know. I just can't ever really get past the like, I'm not strong enough to beat this person, so I'm going to grunt really hard, and now I'm strong enough. Like,
well, it's it's where they put the lore in with the Saiyans, where when they take a beating, they get stronger.
Yeah.
And where they're doing that or at least Super, when they're doing that tournament, they're fighting like multiple universes all at once, and each of them's got a team of 8. It's just, them fighting, every one of them taking damage from it. They just keep growing and growing and growing until they break the limitations. Yeah, like that. I will say the screaming, like, a lot of people think it's epic, but I mean, it is funny, like, when it lasts for like an episode or two, just Goku powering up, just.
I am so glad that I turned chat on for YouTube, because I used to block off the chat for YouTube, because like people would just think I was mocking you there.
Yeah,
but I was actually just imitating Dumpling.
Yeah, I noticed that because I saw him look up and I saw what you were doing. I mean, it's something with the Dragon Ball Z, man, about the power thing. Like, and they do it in Super too, like right there at the end. Well, Goku doesn't break through his limit, but Vegeta does. Everybody loved the fact that Vegeta got another push. Because it's always been Goku. Vegeta just gets kind of rubbed in the mud basically almost every time. Like,
see, I liked Vegeta. Vegeta was my favorite one back in the day.
Me too.
And I don't doubt that maybe the show got better over time, like most shows do. I could never get past that initial kind of thing. So,
right,
because Vegeta is beast.
I will recommend. Like, I know you haven't watched it. Watch Super.
I might
just try it. Because, like, yeah, it's got a lot of power creep. I'm not gonna lie, but like, you can see the struggle. So I think you might be able to get behind it just watching them struggle getting through it. Now they kind of go through it pretty quick because it ain't this, like, they have a few seasons, but it kind of goes through pretty quick on the stuff. But you can see the struggle, and then it kind of just like, okay, well, they were training for like years, but it kind of just speeds through it, right? That's basically what they do with it.
It's a little bit of knowing myself, because like it's a roadblock, and I know it'll be a roadblock if I give it a try. Because for the best example on that is One Piece. Dumpling knows, a lot of people in the community know, One Piece is one of my favorite shows out there, period. One Piece is amazing. But if there's something that I don't like, it's usually really hard for me to keep going with something. And I watched One Piece from when I was a little tyke on the old, the old kids version of it. And then picked it back up in my teens, picked it back up into my adult years, and have been trying to get to the newest episodes ever since. Sometimes religiously watching, 100, 200 episodes in one big stint. And I'm currently doing that again now. But I hit a roadblock somewhere 5-6 years ago when I hit the Fishman Island arc. And I liked Arlong. Arlong was cool, but I've never liked any other fishmen out there. I have never found the fishmen interesting. Fishmen are a boring thing for me. I'm sure there's people out there that like them. Power to you. Enjoy what you enjoy, but I have never been able to get into fishmen stuff. And it's partly the goofy way that they look, the goofy way that they sound, and just the pacing of fishmen stuff is a little slow, the jokes are dry, and I've just never been able to get into Fishman stuff. I love One Piece for everything else in the world. Like, I have loved almost every other character, every other arc. I even like filler arcs. I love watching everything in One Piece. And I have dedicated myself to watch every single episode. The opening of the episode, the credits, everything. Watch everything One Piece to the end. And 5-6 years ago, when I started the Fishman arc, I got 3 episodes in and immediately went to the wiki to look up how many episodes there were left in it. And I found out that it was like 30, 35 episodes. It has taken me 5 years to finish that arc. And I
must really not enjoy that.
I just finished it like a month ago, and I'm taking a break because I'm so fed up with Fishman stuff. But I'm finally out of Fishman stuff, so I'm excited to get back and get my hands back into the show and start watching it again. And all I can say is, I did not enjoy that arc from the first episode to the last episode. I even made a TikTok where the first episode where we were out, the narrator guy goes, as the crew is leaving the Fishman Island, they are rejoicing to be back on the seas again. And I'm like, thank God! And I made like this TikTok of like, yes! Like, I was so happy to be out of that crap. And it's that, you know I don't like power creep. It's why I didn't really keep going with Naruto. Once I know that it's something that can make me struggle, I know to kind of avoid it or potentially be sullied even more, And right. I'll probably give Super a try because I genuinely. Here's the other thing. Like, when there's something I don't like, I usually want to know why, and I usually want to like try to give it another chance. Because like, I gave Star Wars, I don't know how many chances. Like, I have watched all the Star Wars movies more than some fans probably, and because I've watched every movie like several times because I've went into it going, I'm gonna try to like this because A, I love the video games, B, I love the lore, C, I love the card game. Like, I want to like Star Wars. I just do, and I just can't get into the movies.
Well, I mean, there's been complaints about, the movies, like, a lot of times. Like, there's a lot of people out there, it's like that, who are like, oh, I like everything, but I hate the movies. Movies are terrible, especially the Disney ones recently. I know a lot of people's up in about that. Like,
I actually like the Disney ones more.
Oh, do you?
Yes. Like,
I mean...
Oh, and Mandalorian. Okay, now Mandalorian is 100% everything I wanted from Star Wars. Mandalorian is amazing.
I have not got to watch that, but I do.
Dude, it is so good. Like, because here, okay, so another on the anime topic here. The whole reason why Redline is so important to me, why Redline is so good, is when it comes to space stuff, I want to see more about life, but in a different way. So, like, for Star Wars, my favorite things is the Katinas, where you have like the aliens playing the music, the Sarlacc pits. I love the arena in Star Wars 2, where they go in and they fight monsters in like a coliseum. Like, I want to see how life is like in other, universes in space. And Redline is literally NASCAR in space with guns, and that's just like the coolest. So I love the Mandalorian because you're a bounty hunter, and it puts you in the bounty hunter's role, and you see the life of a bounty hunter, and it's so cool to see how that life is. So I want to see more from the Star Wars universe, like Mandalorian, where we can get more of their lives told rather than like, I don't know, I guess this kind of big. I feel like they in the Star Wars movie, they try to show too much of the scope, and that makes me lose it.
Right. I get that.
Because the politics killed it for me on the Star Wars movie.
Oof. Yeah, they do a lot of politics on some of the movie. And it's like, oh Jesus! And it's fun. It's funny about that too. Like, when I'm older, randomly completely change the subject. It's just funny because like when I was a kid and through high school stuff, I enjoyed it, but now when I go back, it's just funny. Like the Lord of the Rings, like the very first like movie, it's just Frodo and Sam going, "Oh Sam, you can do it, Mr. Frodo. Oh Sam, you can do it, Mr." Like that's basically like a lot of the movie. It's just the Sam hopping up Frodo being depressed that he can't do it. I mean, it makes sense, but like I still like the movies. I'm not talking bad about it, but it's like when I got older, I realized like how much of it was.
So it shouldn't be surprising with Lord of the Rings being one of my favorite series because it's showing their lives, it's showing how they live, it's going through like the different races, ways of living and stuff. So obviously that's more appealing to me. But yes, I agree with you on the first movie of like the back and forth between Frodo and Sam. Frodo's story is just not that great, honestly, at the end of the day. So I fully understand people's complaints on it.
It just cracks me up because like I heard somebody talk about it and I'm like, they're actually really accurate about it. It's just Frodo going, "Oh Sam," and Sam's like, "Who could do it, Mr. Frodo?" It's just constantly all the way through the movie. And it's great too. Still a great movie. It's just I never really focused on that too much. Like when it got to the Hobbit scenes and stuff like that, I ain't gonna lie, I kind of zoned out and wait for the battles to start. Or when it gets to Aragorn or Gimli, something like that, I'll be like hardcore watching it. But as soon as I'm like, but as soon as it gets to them two, I'm like, nope. And I just kind of zone it out until they pass. Now the Hobbit though, man, there is not one complaint I have about the Hobbit. They nailed that.
Yes, they did. Like I went back and watched all the movies again recently because you remember me talking to you about my memo. Which right. I'll go ahead and fill people in on that real fast. So my memo is wanting to watch a short movie. So I said, I got a short movie for us to watch. It's actually a few movies, and we'll watch them over the next few days. And she got excited about it. And I said, all right, let's watch this short movie. And I turned on The Hobbit. And we
4 hours long.
We get about 2.5 hours into it. Oh, and it's all extended cuts, obviously. Extended cut, 4K, all that good jazz. And we get like 2.5 hours in. She goes, "So how much longer on this movie?" I was like, we're about halfway through. We're almost done. So it's just a short movie. She goes, "What do you mean?" I'm like, yeah, it's halfway through. It's like 3.5 hours, 4 hours. She's like, "That's a long movie. What are you talking about?" I'm like, well, every one of these movies are going to be that way, and we've got 6 of them to go. So we get to the third Hobbit, and we finish the third Hobbit. It's like a couple of days now. And she goes, "Thank God it's over." And I'm like, no, we're halfway done. We're starting Lord of the Rings next. And she goes, "Oh, they're Lord of the Rings." I said, "Yup." So I turn on the Fellowship of the Ring, and she just goes, "Oh."
They are the longest movies though. Like for a series, it would take you. I don't even think you can watch them all in one day. I know it'd take you you'd have to wake up at 8 in the morning or something to get all the way through all of them. But
it's only 22 hours, man. Come on.
Only 22 hours. That ain't casual stuff right there on watching the series. It's like I know when I went to the movies to watch the Hobbit movie, man, I had to because of course I'm always getting a big old drink or something whenever I go into the movies. Yeah. And I'll be sitting there chugging it down. Then I have to go to the bathroom, but I don't want to leave because I don't want to miss anything. But it's like I still got 2 hour and a half to go on it. Still, you're having to hold it without being like, dang, I gotta go now.
You're not a camel.
Yeah, I am definitely no camel.
I am a camel.
I will praise you for that. I am no camel. I gotta go.
I could chug another boot and sit here for a while.
That's crazy. Not me. But yeah, their movies are so long, but they're so good. I like long movies, so.
So back on the anime topic, and it's one that I highly suggest because I don't think you've watched it, but I really suggest Roka to you. I really do suggest Roka.
Okay.
We may actually watch it together. We might turn it on and watch an episode every now and then together.
Yeah, we can.
That'd be a cool idea. Let's see, is Dark Souls 3 Game of the Year worth it? I found it for $40. Give me just a second and I'll tell you. Anywho, but yeah, I want to watch Roka with you. Roka's one of those shows that like it doesn't do anything new in the anime world, but it 100% does it to a T. Like it's what I would call like a love letter to the genre itself, because it is nothing new as far as like genre or story goes. It just tells it in the almost perfect way that it's supposed to be told, in an art style that is beautiful, and it just does it right. It just does everything right, in my opinion. So
You're right. Yeah, I'll have to watch it and see what I think about it. I'm sure I'll like it, but we'll see. So I'd like to get into more animes. It's just, again, I'm always that type of person. My mindset is, well, I could be doing a game, or I could be playing a game or doing something else, and just sitting there staring at a screen watching something.
yeah.
I don't know. That's just how I am. I'd just rather, me be doing something than just sit there. I'd definitely be interested in watching that. We may have to do that someday.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun. Or even just do like a watch party or something at some point.
Yeah, we could.
I don't know. But anyway, I don't really have anything else. You have anything you want to mention or talk about before we wrap up?
I mean, not really. Pretty much talked about everything that I could think of.
Cool. Well, this is Brimthen's Babbles. If anybody would like to join, feel free to go over to our Discord and make a request at Brimthen's Babbles. Got a little channel dedicated to making the requests, and I'll schedule you in. And as soon as I can get to you, we'll get to you and get you on here to do the podcast with us. And we'll give Nance the floor for just a moment to talk a little bit more about himself and where to find him if he has anything he wants to promote.
All right. I don't really have anything to promote, but if you ever want to chat with me or hang out with me, or you're interested in playing Total War Warhammer and you would like to, get some help on learning it, join Brimthen's Discord. You can get a hold of me there from his Discord. Well, that's pretty much it.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you being on here, and you're welcome back anytime. We're going to start probably bringing some reoccurring people on eventually. But yeah, thank you for hanging out with us here today, and we'll talk to you again later.
Yep, man. It was fun being here. I had a good time.
Peace.
Can't wait to do another one. See ya.